After my C-section, I texted, "Please, someone bring a blanket or help me feed him." No one answered. The next day, Mom posted, "Vacationing with my favorite people." 6 weeks later, still recovering, I woke to 81 missed calls and a message from my sister. "You have to send $5,000 now." I was still numb from the waist down when they wheeled me into recovery. My son was crying in the bassinet next to me. I could barely turn my head, let alone lift him. My hands were shaking from the anesthesia. The nurse said someone would come help me feed him soon. They didn't. So I texted the group chat with my mom, my sister, and my dad. Just a simple line, "Please someone bring a blanket or help me feed him." Silence. I watched the little red indicators light up next to their names. One by one, all of them saw it. No one replied, not even a thumbs up, nothing. An hour later, a nurse walked in, surprised no one from my family had shown up. She tried to be gentle as she helped me latch him. I was crying, but trying not to make a sound. The next morning, I woke up groggy, sore, and alone. I checked my phone. No messages, but there was a Facebook post from my mom time-stamped just hours after my son was born. "Vacationing with my favorite people." 2 hearts and a palm tree. It was a picture of her, my sister, and my dad on a beach. My mom in sunglasses holding a margarita, my dad grinning like a tourist, my sister holding up peace signs in a bikini. I stared at it for a long time, not out of sadness, but out of realization. They had planned this. They knew I was going in for the C-section. They had said they'd be there. They promised. They even told me to keep them updated. But the truth was, they had booked the tickets 2 weeks before my due date and never told me. My husband, well, fiancé, died in Afghanistan 7 months ago. Marine Corps. I got the call just after I found out I was pregnant. He never even got to hear the heartbeat. My family had told me they'd step up, said we were in this together. The only person who came was Mrs. Granger from next door. She brought a little bag of muffins and sat with me for a bit, saying she remembered when I was a toddler running around in diapers. That visit meant more than anything my family had ever done for me. 6 weeks passed. I was healing slowly, barely sleeping. Baby colic. No one helped. They came back from their trip a week after he was born and didn't even visit. Then one morning, I woke up to 81 missed calls. Most were from my sister. The last text I saw said, "You have to send $5,000 now." I stared at the screen, rubbed my eyes, and sat up slowly. My incisions. I didn't answer. I opened my laptop, put my son down beside me, and started digging. I knew enough from helping my fiancé with his paperwork when he was deployed. Property records aren't hard to find. Turned out my dad took out a $50,000 home equity loan 3 weeks before their beach photo shoot. It was already delinquent. Interest climbing. Then came another message, this time from my mom. "Sweetheart, I know things were hard, but we're family. We just need help this once. Please don't be cold." That last sentence was meant to sting. And maybe it would have if I wasn't already too numb to feel much. Instead of replying, I sat there holding my baby, remembering that first night alone in the hospital, texting for help no one ever brought. A few hours passed. I was finishing a bottle feed when I got another message, this one from a number I didn't recognize. "Hey, Nancy, this is Emily from high school. Just wanted to say I saw your mom's GoFundMe and donated $25. Hope you're okay." My heart dropped. I asked her to send me the link. She did. It was called "Help Us Save Our Family Home." The story said they were in a financial crisis because they'd spent their life savings supporting their pregnant daughter after her fiancé, a decorated soldier, was killed in combat. There were pictures of me pregnant, one at the baby shower, one at my fiancé's memorial, one of my ultrasound, none of it with my permission. She had used my grief and my son as props in a sympathy scam. They had raised over $1,300 in just a few days. I reported it instantly. Then I called the bank listed on the loan papers and asked for their fraud department. I told them I had reason to believe my name might have been used without permission on some documents. The woman on the phone said they'd be investigating immediately. I was shaking by the end of that call. This wasn't just about being absent when I needed them. This was theft, exploitation. They had no shame. That night, Mrs. Granger came by again, knocked gently, and handed me a small basket with cookies. She hesitated a moment, then said my dad had shown up at their house the night before, drunk, ranting about how I was holding out on them and they were owed something after everything they'd done for me. They'd done nothing. I thanked her, locked every door, and installed a camera on the porch that same night. I was done being the quiet one, done keeping peace, done pretending they were just going through something. But the thing that made it all snap, the moment I realized just how far gone they were, was 2 days later. I walked outside with my son to grab diapers from the car, and the car was gone. I had barely slept the night before. My son had been fussy, I was still sore, and every time I closed my eyes, I felt like I was sinking underwater. So when I stepped outside that morning to grab the last box of diapers from the car and saw the empty driveway, my brain... I walked back inside, slowly. I didn't even cry. I just set my son down, grabbed the monitor, and opened the camera feed from the porch. It took a second to load, then I saw it. 3:12 a.m. Headlights. A figure moving across the front yard like they knew where the blind spots were. They walked right up to my car, opened it smoothly, got in, started the engine, and drove off without a single hiccup. I watched it twice before it clicked. The person had a key. They didn't break in, they didn't hotwire it. Whoever it was had a key to my car. And I only ever gave a spare to one person before my fiancé died. My dad. I paused the video, stared at the figure as he turned slightly, looking behind as he reversed out of the driveway. It was him. Even without a clear face, I knew the shape of him, the way he moved. I called the police. I didn't hold back. I told them everything about the GoFundMe scam, the threats for money, the home equity loan, and now the car. I said I had video proof that he still had a key he never returned. They asked if I wanted to press charges. I said yes. An officer came over that afternoon to take my statement and pick up the footage. He was quiet the whole time, polite but clearly disturbed. He asked again if I was sure. I said I was. They found my car later that day parked behind my parents' house. The license plate was removed, the baby seat tossed into the shed, and a faded "For Sale" sign tucked into the back window. They were going to sell it like it was nothing. Like I was nothing. I didn't get a call from them. No apology, no denial. Just silence. My dad was picked up that evening for vehicle theft, held for questioning. He spent 4 nights in a holding cell. 4 nights without his phone, without Facebook, without pretending to be the family man he never was. My mom started posting vague quotes about loyalty and being betrayed by your own blood. My sister changed her profile picture to a selfie of them on the beach. It was almost funny, except it wasn't, because this was who they really were. I didn't visit. I didn't call. I didn't answer when my mom texted, "This has gone too far." Nothing had gone far enough. For the first time in my life, I wasn't scared of them. I wasn't begging for love or support. I was just done. And then 3 weeks later, I got a knock on the door. It wasn't a delivery. It wasn't Mrs. Granger. It was my dad. Against my better judgment, I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. My son was asleep. I had the monitor in my hand. Karen opened the folder. Inside were screenshots, bank records, legal letters, loan documents. But not just the ones I already knew about, these were new. Turns out, after the GoFundMe got shut down, my mom had taken things even further. She started taking out payday loans in my name using my Social Security number. Loans I hadn't even seen yet because they were being routed to an old email address I stopped using when my fiancé died. 5 of them, totaling almost $12,000. Karen said she only found out because she overheard my mom bragging about how she was handling things behind the scenes. She'd gone through my mom's desk and found the printouts. She didn't tell me sooner because she was afraid, said my mom had threatened to cut her out of the will. I almost laughed as if there'd be anything left to inherit. I looked at my dad, expecting denial, but he was quiet. Then he reached into his jacket and pulled out a key, my spare car key. He handed it to me without a word. Then he said he didn't know about the new loans, that the GoFundMe was my mom's idea, that he let it happen, but he didn't expect her to keep taking from me. It sounded like the beginning of an apology, but I wasn't ready to accept anything. I told Karen I'd need copies of everything in that folder. She nodded and handed it over. Then I turned to my dad and asked him why he came. He said quietly, I didn't want to end up like her. I didn't know what he meant until the next day, because the sheriff's office called. My mom had tried to report me for fraud. She said I'd been stealing from her and using her name to take out loans. She walked into the station with a folder of fake documents and a story about her unstable daughter and the stress of raising her grandson alone. The deputy who took the complaint had already seen the car theft footage, knew the GoFundMe story, knew I'd been the one to report the fraud in the first place, so he had to follow protocol. They called me, asked if I'd be willing to submit the rest of the documents my Aunt Karen gave me. I said, yes, of course. I scanned everything and emailed it over. The same day, within 48 hours, the whole mess started to catch up with her. The payday loan company confirmed the applications came from her home Wi-Fi. The email address used for the fake checking account matched one she'd listed as a backup on her real credit card. Even the forged signature didn't look like mine. It looked like hers with a shaky attempt to copy how I signed birthday cards. It was sloppy, desperate, and now it was official. She was under criminal investigation. I didn't post about it. I didn't gloat. But word started spreading anyway. This town's small. People noticed when her SUV wasn't parked outside the house anymore. Someone at the bank must have talked because even the woman at the pharmacy asked if I was doing okay. Her Facebook page, the same one that had once posted selfies and fake inspirational quotes, was gone, deleted. Then I got the letter from the bank addressed to occupants of the property. Their house was going into foreclosure. They had 60 days to vacate unless they paid off the full balance of over $51,000. I stared at that letter for a long time. I didn't feel good. I didn't feel bad. I just felt done. Karen called that afternoon and said my mom had asked her for money, begged, said she was going to be homeless and that Nancy's making it worse. Karen told her no, told her she should have thought about that before using her own daughter like a walking ATM. I didn't ask her to say that, but I appreciated it more than I could explain. My sister was next. After weeks of silence, she sent me one text. You win. I hope you're happy. No apology, no responsibility, just another attempt to make herself the victim in a story she barely even showed up for. I ignored it. That same day, I came home from the pediatrician and found a box on my porch, no return address. Inside were my childhood photo albums, stuff I had. He said he knew she was using the GoFundMe for the wrong reasons, but he told himself it was temporary, that they'd pay it back, that it wasn't really hurting anyone. He admitted he didn't realize just how far she'd gone until after I pressed charges for the car. Said when he saw the baby seat dumped in the shed like trash, something broke. Then he told me something I didn't expect, that my mom had tried to empty my late fiancé's military death benefit account. He'd overheard her talking on the phone with someone about redirecting it to support the household. That account was in my son's name. He said that's the moment he left. No argument, no suitcase, just walked out and never went back. He'd been staying with an old friend from his carpentry days, sleeping in a spare room, working odd jobs just to keep himself busy. Said he didn't come to ask for anything, just to say that he knew finally that I was right, that he let it all happen, and that he was sorry, not just for the last few months, but for all of the years he stayed quiet. I didn't forgive him right away. I still had that wall up, still remembered too well the silence when I needed someone most. But he stayed. He asked about my son, what time he was waking up now, whether he liked music, what his favorite blanket was. Questions no one else had ever thought to ask. We talked for almost 2 hours, mostly about the baby, a little about my fiancé, a little about things he wished he'd done differently. He didn't try to paint himself as some tragic figure, he just told the truth, and that was what made the difference. Before he left, he reached into his coat and pulled out an envelope, said he had found a few $100 in an old toolbox and figured I might want a new stroller or something for the house. I didn't take it, but I told him to come by next week. Because even if it was late, even if he had let it all happen, at least he saw it now. The others were still pretending, but he was the only one who finally got it. And that somehow felt like the beginning of peace.